What's the most unprofessional thing you've seen at work? My coworker Jessica thought she could slack off on our quarterly presentation to the CEO while I did all the work. She was one of those people who talked a big game but never delivered. The first Monday we got assigned the project, she told me she was too busy with networking events to contribute. I started recording every meeting and conversation we had about the project. Jessica kept making excuses about client calls and important meetings that somehow never seemed to exist when I checked the calendar. After our second team meeting, I realized she was actively avoiding me. She'd leave early whenever I tried to schedule work sessions and wouldn't respond to my project emails for days. When she finally replied, it was always some variation of, "You've got this handled." I decided to test her. I sent an email asking which sections she wanted to take responsibility for. Her response was gold. Just assign me the easy stuff that won't require much research. I forwarded that email to myself and saved it in a special folder. By the third Monday, Jessica started getting nervous. She began asking me casual questions about the presentation during coffee breaks, trying to fish for information without actually contributing. I gave her vague answers and watched her panic grow. She tried a new strategy, telling our manager that we were collaborating beautifully and that she was bringing valuable client perspective to the project. Our manager bought it completely and even praised Jessica in front of the team. Halfway through our timeline, Jessica scheduled a check-in meeting with just us. She walked in acting like the project manager, asking for status updates and timelines. I played along and showed her my completed sections. She then casually mentioned that she'd been strategizing the big picture and would weave everything together at the end. When I asked to see her strategic insight, she said they were still in development. With only 2.5 weeks left, Jessica made her biggest mistake. The following Monday, the pressure was mounting. Jessica started staying late at the office, but I noticed she was just browsing social media and online shopping. When we hit the 2-week mark, she tried bribing me with lunch and compliments, saying I was so much better at this stuff and that she'd make it up to me after the presentation. When that didn't work, she got desperate. 3 days before we present, she sent that email asking for the final slides. When I replied that I only had my sections, she completely lost it. She called me screaming about teamwork and how I was setting us both up to fail. The next day, she went to our manager claiming I was being uncooperative and holding the project hostage. She suggested splitting the presentation so we could each present our own work. Our manager thought that sounded fair. Jessica spent the final 48 hours in overdrive, trying to create something from nothing. She kept asking me for just the data or quick summaries of my research. I watched her struggle while pretending to be helpful. The morning of the presentation, she looked exhausted and frazzled. She kept asking what order we were presenting in and whether I had backup slides. I presented my sections flawlessly. Detailed analysis, client feedback, revenue projections, implementation strategies. Everything was polished and professional. Then it was Jessica's turn. She confidently walked up to present her sections, but when she clicked to her slides, they were mostly empty bullet points and stock photos. She started improvising, making up statistics and talking in circles. After 5 minutes of painful rambling, she realized she was failing. That's when she turned to me and said, "He was supposed to send me his research, but clearly sabotaged me instead." I calmly pulled out my phone, opened our email chain, and handed it to our CEO. He read her messages out loud, including where she called the project boring busy work and said she was too busy with networking. Our manager got mad as he realized he'd been played. The CEO asked Jessica to explain her contribution to the project. She couldn't name a single thing she'd actually done. Jessica was walked out that afternoon, was fired by next day.